Days after the uptick of trade talks linked to Nils Hoglander, the plot thickens with a bombshell development, and a surprising JT Miller update not from the Canucks seems to indicate when we could see his return. We're going to break it down all of that in this episode of Canucks Digest, but first make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you don't miss any updates surrounding the Canucks as we head through this road trip. With that, let's hop into the first topic of the day, which is huge Canucks trade report. So a few days ago, Kevin Weeks did tweet out saying that a name generating interest in the market is Canucks forward Nils Hoglander. He's 24 with cost certainty given his current 3-year, $3 million a year average and skilled. I'm told the Caps, Pens, and Columbus Blue Jackets are among clubs that have explored the possibility. Before we get into the bombshell with one of those teams, there was a report also that came out that the Boston Bruins, in Hockey News by Michael DeRosa, made a good argument for why they should go after him. With the Bruins not having a ton in cap space, Hoglander only carries a cap hit of $1.1 million for this season, but he would have to be a rental as his contract extension kicks in after next season when it goes up to $3 million. So that's pretty interesting where that's coming out of nowhere, where the Bruins could be one of these teams trying to snatch him up or just offer us a pretty good deal. Maybe they give us a Dorov. That's just a joke. Don't take that seriously. I know we talked about that in a few videos ago, but with Kevin Weeks coming out with this, we get a huge bombshell from Rick Dollywall saying that since the Kevin Weeks tweet with the Columbus Blue Jackets have an interest with Nils Hoglander, the report said that the Blue Jackets assistant GM was at the Canucks versus Red Wing games on Sunday afternoon, and they have interest in Hoglander. So this is pretty big coming out that not only were those teams potentially linked to wanting Nils Hoglander, but they were also one of those teams, the assistant GM was at the Canucks most recent game showing the interest and saying, hey, we want to take a shot on this guy potentially. So we could be seeing a potential deal coming here between the Canucks and the Columbus Blue Jackets, with the interest that the Jackets are seeming to invest in them. I think with the Jackets this season, they're kind of in a particular situation where they might be wanting to plan for the future. Nils Hoglander, we know he's been around the league for a little bit, but it's been a bit rocky, and we look at his stats here as well, where he's been with the Vancouver Canucks and had a brief stint with Abbotsford as well for 45 games, where he did really well to get back on this Vancouver Canucks roster. But since getting back on the roster, yes, he was a 30-point scorer last season with 24 goals. Yes, he's a 20-plus goal scorer, but that hasn't been the case this year. That seems to have only been a one-season anomaly. In 23 games this year, only 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 points, 18 penalty minutes, and a -5 plus-minus rating. That is one of the most underrated stats in hockey. I know he is on our fourth line and on the ice when our weakest defensive pairings have been giving up a lot of points and been on the ice for a lot of bad things. But this also goes to show that Tocchet doesn't really have the leap of faith or the faith that he had in Hoglander last season. He's putting him on the bottom pairing. He's not playing on the top 6 anymore. He's playing in the bottom 6. He's being treated like a bottom 6er because he's not getting the playing time. He's not getting the opportunities, it would seem. However, when he's on the ice, he is still working his butt off. He's still trying to prove himself, it seems like, as if he was a rookie trying to prove himself for Tocchet, where, hey, I have more than enough reason to stay. And another thing the Canucks could be looking at as to why they might not want to keep him hanging around is, yes, they did recently extend him after this season when his cap hit is going to go up to $3 million per year until 2027, 2028. So whatever team does snatch him up, that will be a $3 million hit every year that they're going to have to fork out. But Vancouver is in a situation where we've had so much injuries over the past few seasons and just in this past season and a half alone, where we've had to do a lot of things with LTIR, with moving people around, with finding one-year rentals, and a lot of things where Vancouver has been in just financial, horrible hell. Like, it's been financial hell for them basically, and they haven't been able to really maneuver it the way they want with the freedom that they want, because all offseason we talked about just how much the Canucks would need to fork over to these free agents and these contracts that they had coming up. Nikita Zadorov and Elias Lindholm were 2 that we covered extensively as far as what those numbers could or might need to be to make them stay and how it would work with the Canucks cap situation. So the Canucks are probably wanting to avoid more situations like that, where they're having to worry about where the money goes, how they have to distribute it, and where it can be used as well as properly. Because we saw that after this past offseason. They didn't want to invest all in one player. They wanted to go out and get a few players, and we've seen great returns with that so far. But what do you guys think down in the comments? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, but that's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is surprise JT Miller update. Now, it's a surprise because it's not coming from the Canucks. It's coming from Andy Strickland on Twitter saying that USA Hockey fully expects Canucks forward JT Miller to be available for the upcoming Four Nations tournament that is happening in December, with featuring NHL players from the four biggest nations for hockey, that being Canada, USA, Sweden, and Finland. So with them expecting JT Miller to be back, that could mean that we could be seeing JT Miller back as early as February or as late as February, it would seem, because they are expecting him to be back for that. So we could see JT Miller coming back potentially in the new year is when I would expect him to be back. But if you weren't aware, Miller did take a step away from the team after the November 17th game against the Nashville Predators. 31-year-old was benched in this game, playing a season-low 11:41 minutes of ice time. His stat line in that game showed zeros across the board, 0 points, penalty minutes, shots, and hits. It wasn't a Miller type game. It was very much an anomaly for him, and we knew that something was up. He did the next day, he did take a step away from the team indefinitely. They didn't provide any further comment. Hopefully everything is okay. I've been seeing a lot of talk in the comments about what it could potentially be. Hopefully it's not any of those things that people are saying. Hopefully everything is just okay, and that anybody saying horrible things, just please stop saying them. Let's try and be supportive of one of our best players, one of our leaders, and one of the pillars of this team. Hopefully he is back sooner than later, and if he is back for the Four Nations tournament, hopefully we see him back as early as the new year. It would be great to see him back for the holidays, or before the holidays, I should say, but we're probably going to see him after that. Let him take the time to rest, recuperate, get whatever he has sorted out, and head into 2025 nice and fresh. And while there is no official announcement on Miller, having USA Hockey fully expect him to be ready for the tournament is a positive sign in his healing process. The Canucks conclude their 6-game road trip on Tuesday as they take on the Minnesota Wild before returning to Rogers Arena, where they welcome the Columbus Blue Jackets, which we just talked about, and their investment in Nils Hoglander, to town on Friday. So Friday's game could be very interesting because maybe we see JT Miller or an update on him by then from the Canucks themselves on a timetable when they see him. And it could be interesting to see what happens when the Columbus Blue Jackets come to town. After this report came out from Dollywall, from Weeksy, that the Blue Jackets, they're interested in Nils Hoglander. Canucks might be willing to listen, especially after playing them. We know that the assistant general manager was at the game on Sunday, so they're already looking at him, and now they're going to be going in and getting a full-on look at him on the ice playing against him. And we could see the trade talks escalate even further after that. So make sure you guys stay tuned to Canucks Digest for all that. We're going to be breaking it to you when it happens, as it happens, so you guys don't miss a beat. But let us know what you guys think down in the comments. That's going to bring us into our final topic of the day, which of course is comment of the day. See here from Hook Street that's saying that the next game will be a huge test for our depth. Bring on the Wild. I know the Wild is going to be a team that they have a lot of momentum. They have a lot of upswing this season, and they're a team that has been due for some success for a long time. So hopefully this is where our depth players really come out to shine. Hopefully Jake DeBrusk continues this hot streak that he's on. I know he's just been, that last game against Detroit was a great record breaker for not only him, but also Kevin Lankinen. Jake DeBrusk has been on fire on the road. So look for him to continue that streak going as they conclude this long road trip, head back to Rogers Arena, hopefully with more momentum, because we've been a lot better on the road this season than we have been at home. But each time we come back from a road trip, we seem to get better at home. So hopefully after this road trip, we finish our next homestand with a positive record rather than the negative or 500 records that we've been dealing with at home this season, so that when we go back out on the road, we get even stronger. We come back home, we get even stronger. So hopefully we can not only be so strong on the road, but also equally as strong at home. Make Rogers Arena scary to come into. I know those chants haven't exactly been as loud as they were last season. We heard a lot more player chants. We heard a lot more or louder goal celebrations when the Canucks were lighting up the red light. We haven't seen it or heard it as much this year. So hopefully when the Canucks get back from this homestand, after this road trip, we had a really nice road trip, really good wins, really good production, really good play from a lot of players that we really wanted to see them get more of. A lot of players got better on this road trip than they already were this season. So it is going to be a season where we're heading into the holidays. The Canucks are on the upswing. Hopefully we get even more Christmas presents where Thatcher Demko maybe comes back before Christmas, or we get JT Miller back. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see what happens for the Canucks this month in December as we close out 2025 and head into the next half of the season. But what do you guys think down in the comments? Let us know what you think about the Columbus Blue Jackets situation with Nils Hoglander, the JT Miller stuff. When do you guys think we're going to see JT Miller back? Would love to hear what you guys have to say down in the comments. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.